Welcome to another episode of Shadows of the Tarot. Marie had visited the nudist camp several times with her ex-partner and had always loved the lifestyle. This time, though, she would be going alone. Still, she knew the people who ran it, and when she called to book a 4-day holiday, they warmly welcomed her. She was lucky to secure a caravan. Vacancies were rare at this time of year. She mentioned she'd be on her own, but they assured her it wasn't a problem. The camp had always been a comforting place for her, with its communal kitchen and cozy meeting room where guests gathered in the mornings to feed little wrens bits of cheese at the table. The thought of returning filled her with quiet excitement. To reach the nudist beach, Marie had to walk through a small wooded area, a path she always enjoyed for its tranquility. When she arrived, she placed her bag next to a rock and noticed a man standing waist-deep in the sea. He was tall, about 6 feet, with a lean, athletic build. His sun-kissed skin and tousled mane of sun-bleached blonde hair gave him a rugged, carefree look that suited the nudist lifestyle. Despite his unkempt appearance, there was an undeniable charm about him. Marie walked toward the water, careful not to intrude on his space. As their eyes met, they exchanged a friendly wave and a smile. After her swim, she emerged from the water to find the man sitting on the rock near her bag. It was only then she realized his bag had been on the other side of the rock all along. They greeted each other and introduced themselves, quickly discovering they were both staying at the same campsite. When he asked if she'd like to join him for a coffee, she agreed without hesitation. As she picked up her towel, he casually grabbed her bag and said, "I'll carry this for you." Walking back to the camp's clubrooms, they fell into easy conversation. Their rapport was instant, and Marie felt a rare sense of comfort and connection with this stranger. Later that evening, a fancy dress party was planned in the communal room. When he asked Marie if she was attending, she told him she'd be going as a cave woman. He laughed and admitted he hadn't realized there would be events like this. "I guess I'll have to improvise," he said. "I'll go as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. All I need is this t-shirt and jeans." They parted ways to get ready at their respective campsites, then reunited at the party. As the evening unfolded, they found themselves gravitating toward each other, enjoying one another's company more with every passing moment. Shaggy's easygoing nature and quiet confidence had a magnetic quality, putting everyone around him at ease. His laid-back approach to life, rooted in a philosophy of freedom and joy, was contagious, and Marie found herself captivated by his charm and openness. The next day, Marie and Shaggy decided to visit the town and explore the stalls along the beach. Among the bustling crowd, they came across a fortune-teller's tent. Elise explained that she was staying at a nearby caravan park and had set up her stall at the fair for a change of pace. Marie turned to Shaggy. "Do you mind waiting while I have a reading?" "Not at all," he said with a curious smile. "Actually, I'd like to watch." Inside the tent, Elise prepared her cards. "Let's see what the universe has in store for you," she said, shuffling her special deck. The reading focused on releasing the past, following a new path, and embarking on a journey. When Marie chose her card from an antique tin, it was the Hanged Man. Elise raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. The Hanged Man is about surrender, letting go of control and illusions. It suggests you might have been deceiving yourself in some way. It also warns against rushing into new relationships or decisions." Marie leaned forward. "What if the card is reversed?" Elise chuckled, her tone playful. "Well, upside down, it can carry a heavier meaning: betrayal, sabotage, even murder. But don't worry, it's not literal." Shaggy, intrigued, said, "Can I pick a card too?" Elise grinned. "Of course. Let's see what the cards have to say about you." Shaggy shuffled the deck and drew a card. To everyone's surprise, it was also the Hanged Man. Elise's eyes widened. "Well, now that's rare. Two people drawing the same card back to back. It's like the universe is sending a clear message. You both have similar lessons to learn. Looks like you're on parallel paths. Marie and Shaggy exchanged a glance, feeling the strange weight of the coincidence. Back at the campsite, Marie couldn't help but think this might just be a whirlwind holiday romance. But Shaggy surprised her. He insisted he liked her and wanted to stay in touch. Though they had only just met, Marie felt a pang of sadness at the thought of leaving him behind when it was time to go home. Within a week of her return, Shaggy called and asked if he could visit her. Marie, thrilled, eagerly said yes. Over the next few months, they began seeing each other regularly. Despite the distance between their homes, they made it work, meeting at least once a week for dinner and conversation. During these visits, Marie started noticing a troubling side of Shaggy, his relationship with alcohol. Though he was tall and had an impressive tolerance, it was clear he drank heavily. She had seen him finish an entire bottle of vodka in one night and still remain upright. Shaggy joked that his height and two strong kidneys helped him handle it, but Marie wasn't sure whether to laugh or worry. One evening, she brought up an idea that had been on her mind. "Would you be my travel partner?" she asked. Shaggy chuckled and shook his head. "I'd love to, but I can't afford a trip overseas," he admitted. Marie smiled. "That's okay. I want to travel, and I need a partner. I've been dreaming of going to Mexico. I'll cover your expenses if you come with me." Shaggy hesitated for only a moment before agreeing. "All right," he said with a grin. "Let's do it." When they arrived in Mexico, Marie and Shaggy checked into a couples-only resort that featured a nudist area. The resort was stunning, with at least 3 cafes, for different dining venues offering evening entertainment, and an all-inclusive package that covered food and drinks. Marie, skeptical at first, even asked the concierge to confirm. "Is it really all included?" she asked. "Unless you want something from the top shelf, yes, everything's included," he assured her with a smile. Shaggy, thrilled by the idea of unlimited drinks, couldn't hide his excitement. At first, they enjoyed a few wonderful evenings together, soaking in the lively atmosphere. But as the days went by, Shaggy's drinking began to escalate. The bartenders, small, cheerful locals, started making his drink stronger, pouring in 2 shots of vodka at a time. Concerned, Marie intervened, asking them to limit it to just 1 shot. "Okay, Mr. One Shot," they teased, giving him a playful nickname. But it didn't deter Shaggy. He simply downed his drinks faster and went back for more. One evening, after a tiring day of sightseeing, Marie decided to head to bed early, leaving Shaggy to continue drinking at the bar. She had just drifted off when she was startled awake by the sound of him stumbling through the door. He collapsed onto the bed next to her, snoring loudly, making sleep impossible. Then, to her horror, she felt a warm, wet sensation on her leg. Shaggy was wetting the bed. Disgusted and frustrated, Marie shook him awake. "Shaggy, wake up. You need to go to the bathroom." He stirred but didn't respond the way she expected. Instead, he shot up, his face twisted with rage. It was as though an entirely different person had taken his place. His eyes burned with anger, and he snarled at her, his voice filled with venom. Shaggy shot out of bed, his face contorted with rage, and began yelling abuse at Marie. He wasn't even using her name. It was as if he were in some alternate reality, consumed by a delusion. His words were nonsensical, a torrent of anger that Marie couldn't comprehend. Terrified, she got out of bed and walked to the balcony, hoping the cool night air might calm him or at least create some distance between them. But Shaggy followed her, still yelling, his voice echoing into the night. Marie's fear grew as he loomed closer, and she couldn't shake the horrifying thought that he might push her over the edge. She quickly retreated back into the room, but it didn't help. He was right behind her, his anger unrelenting. Shaggy ripped the wet sheet from the bed and dangled it in front of him like some grotesque trophy, spewing words that made no sense. Then, in a chilling turn, he wrapped the sheet around Marie, pulling it tighter and tighter as she struggled to free herself. Marie fought back, clawing and twisting, but his grip was overpowering. The sheet constricted around her neck, cutting off her air. Panicked, she managed to roll off the bed, tumbling to the narrow space between the bed and the wall. She gasped for breath, heart pounding, as Shaggy shoved the bed against her, pinning her in place. At least now his hands weren't on her neck, and she could breathe again. She lay wedged in the cramped space, trembling, too terrified to move. Eventually, Shaggy's rage ebbed, and he collapsed onto the bed, passing out with a loud snore. The moment she was sure he was asleep, Marie wriggled out from her hiding spot and slipped out of the room. Downstairs, she ran into a security guard who had heard the commotion. His English was limited, but he asked if she was okay. Marie forced a weak smile. "I'll be fine now," she lied, not wanting to explain further. She stood outside the building for what felt like hours, staring into the darkness, trying to steady her nerves. When she finally returned to the room, she grabbed a spare pillow and blanket from the cupboard, locked herself in the bathroom, and laid down on the cold tile floor. Sleep came in restless waves, her mind spinning with what had just happened and what she should do next. When Marie woke the next morning, Shaggy was already gone. She took a long shower, letting the water wash over her as she tried to make sense of the night before. After getting dressed, she went down for breakfast, and there he was, sitting casually at a table, eating as if nothing had happened. He waved at her with a cheerful smile and called her over. Hesitantly, Marie joined him. She tried to bring up what had happened during the night, her voice trembling as she explained how he had scared and hurt her. But Shaggy's expression remained blank. He didn't believe her. "I don't remember any of that," he said dismissively, his tone almost flippant. Marie's heart sank. How could he not remember? How could he act as though everything was normal? Frustrated and confused, she tried again to explain, but Shaggy brushed it off and continued eating, steering the conversation to mundane topics. Left with no choice, Marie decided to play along. She smiled weakly, nodding where necessary, but her mind raced with questions. What could she do while they were still on holiday together? For the next few days, she kept her distance, attending yoga classes, exploring the resort, and taking tours on her own. Eventually, they reached the point in their itinerary where they had to share booked excursions. Marie, determined not to let the incident ruin the rest of the trip, pushed her feelings aside and carried on as if nothing had happened. It was easier than trying to confront him again. When they finally returned home, Marie told Shaggy she wouldn't be able to see him the following week. "I'll be busy with family," she said, keeping her tone neutral. In reality, she needed space, time to process what had happened and decide what she wanted to do. Shaggy lay sprawled on his bed, a cask of port in one hand and a movie playing softly in the background. He drank steadily, the warm burn of the alcohol dulling his thoughts, until halfway through the cask, a sudden and devastating realization hit him. The memories of what he had done to Marie during their holiday began to surface, fragmented yet vivid. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. Who had he been in that moment? How could he have done something so monstrous? Shame welled up inside him, so overwhelming that, for a fleeting moment, he considered ending it all. But the thought passed as quickly as it came. No, he told himself. He had too much life left to live. Why had such a dark idea even entered his mind? Determined to escape the storm of emotions, Shaggy took a few more long drinks until the alcohol dragged him into unconsciousness. That's when the dream began, vivid, unsettling, and more real than any he had ever experienced. In his dream, a gypsy woman told him he was worthless, warning him of the danger he would become to others. She knew he would never stop drinking, knew he would only spiral further. She explained that the damage to his brain was irreversible, that there was no hope for him. She described his bleak future, where he would lose all memories, reduced to a drooling wreck, and suggested he end it all before he could hurt anyone else. When he woke, he was still in a fog, the gypsy's voice echoing in his mind. It urged him on relentlessly, as if guiding him to his fate, mocking him with every word. He wanted it to stop, wanted her to be silent, unwilling to accept the truth of her words. He felt as though he was on autopilot, unable to control his actions, as if something else was guiding him. In the end, the gypsy woman had won. His lifeless body now hung in the room, a grim testament to her words. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to others, so you don't miss an episode.